Hello and welcome to Nirmal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Mithun Chittilappilly, Managing Director, VGA, joining in. Welcome to the show, Mithun, and a very warm welcome. What unprecedented times that we are dealing with right now. How is it going for you? I mean, even from the location that you're based out of, what's the situation looking like?
So I think we have been fortunate to be based out of Kochi. So the district we are in, it's fairly, fairly less affected. I have been able to come to our corporate office for the last few weeks. We are operating with about 30% of the normal capacity. But our various branches across the country are closed. Our regional headquarters in Gurgaon is closed. Our factories are open. Our warehouses are open. Almost all the warehouses are open, and the factories, some are open, some are in the process of restarting.
Okay.
As we have, depending on the requirement of the production.
Right. So, I mean, any disruptions that we saw with regards to the migrant labor?
So as far as we are concerned, wherever we have opened the factories, the labor is there. We had not cut salaries, or we had not stopped payments to labor, and even the outsourced labor, or indirect labor, as you would call it. So even for people not on our roads, but on the roads of contractors, we have ensured that we have paid them fully on time, and we have ensured that the contractors have passed on that money to the beneficiary during the lockdown days. So we are not foreseeing a big issue, but we don't know, because it's a herd mentality. So even if the companies are paying the labor, depending upon what is the mood among the migrant labor in that particular district, they would have left. But luckily, we don't have any factories in West, in near Bombay, or in NCR, which are the two most affected areas, or we don't have factories even in Chennai. So in that sense, we are hoping that, as far as we are concerned, so we have opened one factory in Coimbatore, and we have opened one factory in Kashipur, which is in Uttarakhand. Both these factories, so far we don't have issues. The labor is reporting back to work as and when required.
Right. So I think that you're fortunate enough right now, at least, still being in the manufacturing side of business as well, where, because this is one of the biggest issues that manufacturing companies are going to face right now once, everyone's restarting operations. But with this, when it was a shutdown, I don't think the people really had anything to worry as to what's going on. But the biggest challenge that everyone is faced right now, Mithun, is with regards to restarting, because it's not that you switch on a button and everything, boom, is, up and about. What have been the challenges, and do you think that's something which has led to an increase in costs as well with regards to restarting?
So I think the biggest challenge is not our own factories, but a factory of our suppliers. So although we don't have any factories in, the more affected areas in India, bulk of raw material comes from Maharashtra, Gujarat, NCR, Chennai. These are all big sources of raw materials. So definitely, when we are doing a sense check with our suppliers, we understand that many of those places only 25 to 35% of the labor is available. Because although we have not, we have ensured that we have not cut any salaries and all that. I don't think this has been the case in many places. So I do expect that from the raw material side, there could be challenges. We don't expect issues with large suppliers, let's take Hindalco or Sterlite or Jindal, these big groups. But there are other suppliers which are not that large, where we could have potential issues. This is one. Second is, there are also suppliers in Bombay. There are suppliers in the Greater Bombay region. There are suppliers in the NCR region, which are falling in containment zones. We also have suppliers in Chennai, especially packaging materials and all that, again, falling in containment zones. So our work has been to constantly engage with suppliers, and look at alternative suppliers who are not affected. Building business continuity plan. In terms of whether we have to switch. In terms of cost, yes, costs will go up because if you look at us, we are operating our plant, whichever is open, we are operating at about 25 to 35% capacity. So obviously, in that sense, wherever the conversion costs or the non raw material costs are high in the plant, there the costs are bound to go up, and I think companies will effect price increases in the market. But today we are not doing that because today our focus is mostly on restarting. Our focus is on mostly resuming operation. But I think after 1 or 2 months, once companies start watching a steady state, and if the social distancing continues as a procedure in any plant, definitely the cost of production in that plant is bound to go up. Now, the quantum of increase can be very low if the conversion costs are not high. That means the labor component in a particular product is not high. But if the labor component is high and we have social distancing, then the cost will go up significantly.
Right. So what's the kind of range that we could expect, in terms of high and low, that this could be the range on an average that prices could go up if required?
Okay, so to put it in perspective, we have products where the conversion cost is 1%, so of product cost, and we have products where it's 8%. So
Okay.
in the case where it's 1%, the increase, even if it's 25%, it will be only 0.25%.
Okay.
Whereas when it's 8% and the increase is 20%, it can go up to 1.5%. So anywhere between 0.5%, 0.25% to 1.5% could be the impact. But yeah, so that is a kind of range it could go, and that is probably the kind of increases that companies may think about if we are not able to work normally. I mean, obviously, if you have an asset and you're utilizing only 25% or 35%, depreciation cost, you have labor which is not utilized. For example, you are working only one shift vis-a-vis three shifts. All these inefficiencies will creep in. So today, for example, most companies have not taken a call on increasing price. They have only increased price wherever the raw material prices have come up. But definitely it'll go up. But having said that, there are some counterbalancing items that have come, like crude derivative prices have come down.
Right.
So plastic cabinets, PVC, coating over wires, their costs would have come down. So some of these naturally would have counterbalanced, and if that is the case, still companies may not increase.
Right. So with this, do you think it's a double whammy situation, not only for V-Guard, but across consumer durables, as I mean, discretionary and durables as a space? Because again, a lot of inventory is something which was held on as well. Now, if you have to offload the inventory, do you think there will be a discounting trend that will also emerge? And with this, we're already talking of a price hike that possibly could come in. So how do you manage this kind of a situation then?
So I think one thing we can say is that the country was not in a very great shape even before Corona. So the 12 months leading to Corona also saw the consumption in India deteriorating to a great extent.
Correct.
A lot of this discounting was already there in the marketplace, and those discounting is already reflecting in our results. So I have not seen further discounting after reopening, because what is happening is today many companies are having limited supply. Many of the lower price brands or smaller brands are not even operating; they've not even restarted. So wherever we have opened operations, we are so far not feeling this further, deep discounting. So as far as we are concerned, we are maintaining price in most categories where we have reopened. But this is early stage. We'll have to wait and see. We also are feeling that wherever the cases are low, that means especially southern markets and eastern markets, demand has been fairly decent, and that's been our experience.
Right. And Mithun, I think post the Q4 earnings as well, you mentioned that the lockdown did lead to a loss of almost around 250 crores for V-Guard in the month of March 2020 overall. And if you could just help us understand how has the situation been in the month of May and June so far? Because last I remember reading your comments saying that May you've seen a total sales of around 70% that you had already achieved in the previous year in the month of May. So are you seeing that stability, that normalization that has started to come in? Or do you think even the second quarter will be muted?
So I think we'll have to wait and see. I'm not able to make a comment on what's going to happen because we are in fact going through a lot of uncertainty. But what we can say is that the May month has been pretty decent. It has been better than our expectation. Not only the sales, but even collections have been strong. So what it tells us is that the whatever we have sold into the trade in the month of January and February and middle of March has in fact been sold out. Not all products, but many of the products has in fact been sold out, and there is recurring demand for those products. Now, some products that are will get affected is that certain summer-based products where the window has been missed. For example, in South India, you can effectively say that the air conditioners season has been effectively missed. So to that extent, our sales of those products which are sold along with ACs, stabilizers, could be impacted for South India. Whereas the summer in non-South is still going on. It is expected to go on till middle of July or end of June. So we could see sales. We are seeing sales for those products there. So it's a mixed bag. We'll have to wait and see how June is and how July is. I'm sorry, how June and July is because we have not completed. But what I can say is that we expect H1 to be muted overall because we have lost almost 40 days of sales in H1. And April month is typically a big month for us, and so is May. But April sales, we have effectively lost everything. We don't expect to recoup, all of that in the following months. So definitely H1 will be muted. H2, we are expecting to be strong because certain products like fans, certain products like pump, certain products like building materials like wires, these are in some effect not discretionary because if there is a fan that is broken down, it's a 2000 rupee product, we are not expecting customers to delay their purchase of those products because it is not a very high ticket item. A pump is, again, if you don't have a pump working in your house, especially if you move out of large cities, you are not going to be able to take a bath or do your daily chores. So these are in some effect seen as essential, and we have seen that the buying for these products have been not that effective. But yes, high price products could get impacted, like air coolers. We are seeing some delay in purchases or deferring of purchases because it's a 10,000, 12,000 rupee product. Maybe it requires financing, and those activities have not yet started. We are also seeing, depending on where we sell. For example, if we are selling our products through large stores located in city centers like Reliance Digital or Chroma, those kind of stores, they are more impacted because those stores are largely located in cities which are affected. They are very large and very much in the eye of authorities. So the level of inspection, the level of level of control by authorities in terms of to control the crowd in those stores are high. But whereas electrical products sold through mom and pop stores, they are more in number but more widely distributed. They're not only in the cities. The products sold through them seems to be selling because these are stores which are smaller. So they anyway cannot cater to more than 3-4 customers at a time because it's just a small, 1,000 square feet or 800 square feet store vis-a-vis a 5,000 square feet Chroma, which is meant for a larger number of people. So we have seen that those stores are inherently doing better, and will continue to do better because there the cops are, the police department is not that keen on locking those stores down because they are not their crowding does not happen. Let me put it that way. Crowding does not effectively happen. So I think naturally, the mom and pop stores have an advantage today than the larger stores.
Right. So with this, Mithun, if you could just help me understand two things. Now, one thing you already mentioned with regards to where the premium category goes, that could be downtraded from here on. There is a possibility, but for a V-Guard, are we insulated on that front? Because to my knowledge, we are still concentrating a lot in terms of where the mid-segment category goes. So that's something which could probably work in our favor. And secondly, the contribution with regards to the non-southern markets is also increasing for the company. How do you think you will be able to play on that strength?
So I think if you look at us, we have products in both mid and premium segment. We also have in certain categories where we are new entrants, and by forces of market, we are forced to be present even in the economy segment. But as a brand, the economy segment, the problem is that gross margins are extremely low and not viable. So over time, many brands which are getting strong in a category tend to exit from the standard segment. Having said that, we don't believe there will be significant downtrading, but yes, there are certain luxury products we have in our portfolio which could get impacted because it comes with a lot of bells and whistles. So that portfolio used to contribute like 10 to 12% of our revenue. We would see a significant downtrading from that segment to probably our mid segment. But this is also creating opportunities. For example, we have a big business coming from inverters and battery business. We were expecting that because everyone is sitting at home, offices and factories are not working, power demand is going to be muted, and it was muted. The sales of this product will be affected. But this product has been selling a lot. So what has happened is because people are working from home, they now, and the kids are studying from home, they now require an uninterrupted power source inside home. And there are power cuts happening in suburbs. So we are seeing a lot of sales. So what I'm saying is that some of these things are counterbalancing. So as an overall as a company, we will lose some, we will win some, and overall we should be broadly okay. It doesn't mean that H1 will be not tough. H1 is going to be extremely tough, and we expect it to be very tough. It is tough, but I think H2 we should expect.
My question to you, Mithun, was with regards to where the inventory goes. We were talking of, inventory days of almost 100 days, where the expectation was that it will come down to 50 days. Where are we on that inventory cycle now?
So inventory days have been normalizing. Like I said, May sales have been strong. June is also looking okay. In fact, we have started to trigger production at our various plants to restore inventory. So we think end of June, we should go back to normal inventory levels. Maybe we are expecting, let us take whatever inventory level was in June last year. We are expecting maybe only 3 to 5 day addition to that. And by September end, I think it will completely normalize. Because like I said, some seasonal products may not get sold because we have missed the window in summer. So only those products we will be carrying. Rest of the products are already normalized. Summer products, maybe by September end, it should normalize is what we expect.
Right. An interesting trend, Mithun, that I've been picking up from a lot of conversations is that the credit cycle has become really good on the back of the cash sales that are happening in the consumer side of business. Is that a trend that you've picked up? And if that's the case, what is the credit cycle looking like right now?
So I think the government has done a lot. I mean, government and RBI has done a lot to increase the flow of credit to the MSMEs. And a lot of our dealers and distributors are all below 50 crore turnover kind of guys. So definitely a lot of that has helped. Liquidity has helped. The retailers have also seen sellout. So I think wherever the lockdown was removed, and even during lockdown, certain dealers like selling fans, in some states even selling pump, they have been allowed to operate because these two were considered essential by government. So sellout has been pretty decent. So definitely, like I said, collections have been strong. So it looks like the credit cycle is getting better. Definitely, but we have to also keep in mind we are not operating or selling at full capacity. So to that extent, sales are also slightly muted than comparing to last year. But definitely, what you heard is correct. At least for us, the collections have been good. It gives us a lot of confidence to go back and manufacturing. And we are glad that we did not, have any layoffs or anything like that in our plants, because now when the situation requires and demands, we are able to, step up.
Right. And Mithun, any cost containment measures that we would be taking during the year? And if yes, what's, in percentage terms, if you could just help us understand how much are you expecting to save on the back of the, on the measures that will be undertaken?
So as I stated first, we are not resorting to any salary
Correct.
cuts or salary cut. Okay, so we are not looking, employee cost as a item to reduce cost. Having said that, we have deferred increments and appraisals by some time. Annual increments in the last 2-3 years has been to the tune of close to 7 to 9%. So around 9% average increase you can take. So that is something we are hoping to contain this year. We also have a lot of discretionary spend. For example, travel and conferences, and sending retailers for tours is another big expenditure as a company we have. Looks like that will probably not happen this year because of, travel restrictions put in place. We also have a lot of discretionary spends, like, discretionary promotional spends, which happens typically achieving on certain volume. Definitely, as the volumes are going to be remain muted at least for H1, those expenditures also may not happen. So, in an industry like us, we do have a lot of counterbalancing actions. So, I don't want to put a percentage, but definitely, definitely, some of these spends will only happen when we see definite visibility of revenue. Having so that means that when we start having visibility of revenues, we will activate those spends again. But definitely, in Q1, those spends will not.
Right. And overall, with regards to where the water heaters and fans is concerned, both the plants are coming up. Now, I think most of the capex is already done for the same. That is going to aid the margin profile as well. By how much do you think that will aid, and when do we start seeing that?
So typically, when we have moved from outsourcing to insourcing as a category, as a product, we have seen between 4 to 7% increase in gross margins.
Okay.
4% maybe initially, and maybe 2 years down the line as we get more and more experience, more and more scale, 7%. So up to that much increase in gross margin. So if you look at us, we are hoping to produce 30% of water heaters and maybe 40% of fans. So to that extent, that much percentage of increase in gross margin is expected for the category. So in fans, maybe 2 to 3% improvement of gross margin, and water heaters another 3 to 4% improvement of gross margin is expected in year 3. So that means we'll probably not see that this year, but we are in FY21. By FY23, those kind of increases are possible.
Right. So, okay. So this is going to be more of a long-term play, and that's the reason why we are going to see this scope of improvement.
So what typically happens is the first year of operation, in fact, the plant will actually spend more than what benefit it gives us. Year 2 maybe 0, and year 3 onwards we will start actually seeing the benefits. But having said that, if you look at the water heater plant, suppose we did not put up that line, our cost would have gone up by 10%, because there is an additional import duty of 10% on all water heaters imported into India. And V-Guard was importing roughly 60 crores of water heaters every year from China, and now that will come down to 6 crores. Maybe 90% of the imports will be replaced. So to that extent, close to 6 crore of import duty bill we will save in a year. That is different from whatever saving I will talk about.
Correct, correct. So with this, you raise an important point with regards to imports coming from China as well. Now, what are the other components where you have dependence in terms of where China is concerned, in terms of product as well as components? And do you think there could be some bit of a disruption that could be coming in on the supply side?
So if you look at us, in 2012, roughly 10% of, we were doing close to 1,000 crores, and 100 crore of products were imported. So roughly 10% of V-Guard's products were imported in 2012. Today, after 8 years, and after this commissioning of this water heater plant, it is down to 4%. I think another, this is finished goods. Another 4% of raw materials are imported, like electronic components and all that. Unless the electronic, manufacturing, like PCB boards, printed circuit boards, relays, transmitters, they are going to be made in India. We don't see us being able to change the other 4%. But definitely, finished goods of 4% may remain, because we still have a lot of small categories where we don't have scale. So may not make sense. For example, we are selling breakfast appliances like toasters. I mean,
Hmm.
sales are very, very small. It doesn't make sense for us to put a factory for toasters, for example.
Right.
The entire toaster market in India may be lesser than what one or two Chinese companies are producing for the world. So, but the large items, yes. So fans, definitely we have set up one plant. We could set up more. Kitchen appliances, already mixer grinders are made in India. Maybe food processors are imported. Maybe we look at making them also in India. But I think we are not a company that is largely dependent on imports. Already, if you look at us, since 2012, we have consciously moved from imports to own manufacturing. So we have done that journey. I would say 75%. The balance 25, whatever makes sense, we will start making in India. Definitely, raw materials like electronic items is a big one. We would like the government to push for these companies to move their bases from Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and China to and Singapore to India. And I think definitely, if the government has the political will, and they have shown that recently, it can be done.
Right. So, Mithun, do you think anything on the stimulus side that the government needs to do for this sector of business?
See, I think if you ask any businessman or any entrepreneur, they will only ask for, more can be done for their sector.
Right.
So I will also be inclined to answer like that. But even if they don't do anything specifically for our sector, if they can do something to propagate demand,
Hmm.
I don't know. It can be consumer financing. It can be forcing people to invest in homes rather than renting them. Interest rate is a big hurdle in our country. I mean, at 10% interest rate, no project, no buying of real estate, nothing makes sense in India. I don't know. I mean, the entire country is paying for the sins of a few people who have, created a lot of NPS. So I don't know how that is fair.
Hmm.
Having said that, whenever we have had lower interest rates in India, we have people have found a way to defraud banks. So I think it's sad. I mean, but I think without propagating demand, and the key to that is lowering interest rates. Although the RBI is lowering interest rates, the transmission is not happening. So I think propagating demand is something that I would like to ask the government. I mean, forcing people to buy products, creating a sense of security in the minds of citizens so that they are able to go and spend money. These two things have to be done. Otherwise, we will definitely have huge issues going into the future.
Right. And with this, if you have to divide the market as well between the organized and the unorganized, where are you seeing demand that will actually, increase from here on? Because there's a lot of disruption that's happening, even a lot of movement that's happening from the unorganized to the organized space, with a lot of startups that are coming in as well from the MSME side. So, where are you expecting demand to increase from?
So I would like, I mean, there is definitely, this lockdown has created some opportunity for brands which are in good distribution network. So, including VGuard and many other leading brands which are having a very good distribution network, will have an upside, because companies which are not very strong on distribution, working only with few number of wholesalers, will find it difficult, because the wholesale markets are all shut down. They have not been allowed to open. So we have some temporary advantage, companies which are having distribution network. And we got specifically strong in South, which apart from Chennai is largely, not having that many cases. So that is also helping us. So I think what we would like to see is stricter enforcement. I think GST is very good in its letter, but in spirit, it's not getting enforced. We are still having huge amount of materials flowing without bills all over the country, including V-Guard products are coming from all the other states without bill and all that into every other state. So it's been happening even for us. I would like to say far, stronger enforcement. I think GST is neither being enforced by the states, not by the center. So I think somewhere in the governance of GST, the enforcement part has been, grossly missed out. And that is why the government is not seeing any revenues or revenue increase from GST, because whoever were paying earlier, like us, are paying today. Whoever was not paying earlier are not even paying today. So I think that has to change, because it is putting companies like us who are very high on corporate governance on a very unfair point as far as competitive advantage is concerned. So I would like to see more enforcement, more analytics. Um, I can safely say there are many of our competitors. They are not small, by the way. I'm talking about about 300-400 crores. Still
Mm-hmm.
operating very happily even after GST. In fact, um, they are not having any incentive to move over. So I'm sorry to say this. So enforcement has been very.
Absolutely, that's something which needs to get rationalized as well. Mithun, we've spoken about the manufacturing plants and what capacity they are operating. Warehouses are open right now. What's the status with regards to dealers as well as the retail touch points?
So about 70%. This is the count as on last week of May.
Hmm.
About 70% of our dealers are open. I think that 70 could have even moved to 80-85% by 8th of June, because a lot more relaxations have come in. I think if you look at Delhi has been the if you look at our large market, Chennai and Delhi have been more affected. Bombay, we don't have a big presence, so relatively we are less affected. But definitely our Bombay branch, branch in Thane is definitely affected. I mean, most of the dealers are continuing to remain shut, or even if they're open, hardly any footfall, because generally, so what you have to do is you look at the number of new cases coming in into any city, and wherever that is abnormally high, you can expect sales to be impacted there.
Right. And lastly, with regards to where expansion plans or product, portfolio diversification plans are concerned, anything that you had planned for FY21 that you think you will have to push that?
So I think we have deferred non-essential capex, which means that all the product-related capex like factories, molds and dies, design, development, research are all on track. We have not cut any of that. We have postponed, renovation, refurbishment of workplaces, those kind of non-essential capex. But whatever is core to and revenue generating, we have not cut. And so we are, whatever we said we will launch, we'll continue to launch, maybe with a lag of 3 months, because a lot of the R&D work has not happened in the 60 days of lockdown. Other than that, we are not foreseeing any major change. Of course, we are reviewing our product roadmaps to see if COVID is going to make some permanent changes in behavior, and whether we need to add or delete something from the portfolio. But other than that, largely it remains unaffected.
Right. And lastly, any negotiations that are happening on the rental agreements? On that front, is anything being negotiated on the cost saving side? And if yes, by how much do you think it will actually aid business?
Yes, so we have renegotiated rental, so different buckets. So we have, landlords where we have leased only the land. We have not, the landlord has not spent anything. We have built factories on leased lands because we, as a company, could not or did not want to get into buying of land and stuff like that. And we have properties where both land, not only land, but the landlord has constructed facilities for us. So, and by taking loan and all that. So looking at the landlord and his financial liabilities, we have managed to squeeze reduction in rent. Some are, so for example, in some cases, it has been significant on an annualized basis. In some cases, it is significant for a quarter. So definitely, that has happened. What has not happened is negotiating with large landlords like DLF, Cyber City, and all that. So they have not yielded any thing. But we have had some flexi spaces, like flexi offices, which we have taken, which we have, got out of. Uh, but other than that, so everywhere we are in negotiations with landlords. We have warehouses, we have factories, and we have office spaces. All these three are being relooked, and we have only gone and done those things which are win-win, because we don't want to alienate our landlords. And for example, if someone has taken a heavy loan and constructed a world-class factory for us, at least the building side, we would not like to go and put pressure on him to reduce rent because he has financial commitment. So looking at those aspects, VGAR will always look at long term, and we have renegotiated rents. They have gone and got some savings.
Right. And very lastly, Mithun, when I talk to all the corporates, everyone's of the opinion that this has been a washout year for all of us. And I don't think so anyone will be surprised with it. At least if not make profits, we at least want to break even in this year. Taking these statements into consideration, what do you think for a VGAR as well as for the sector as a whole? What's the kind of growth that you are envisaging?
Okay, like I said, it's going to be very difficult for me to put a number on the growth. But we can say that even if our revenues are down by 30%, 30 to 35%, VGAR will comfortably break even. We expect that's probably going to happen in H1. H1, we are expecting that kind of an impact. I think H2 should be better. So let's see. I think all my answers depend on the fact that status quo is maintained. So, for example, if more places are going for second and third and fourth lockdowns, this scenario will be very different. All I can say is that VGAR is very strong position financially. I think our cash position is fairly high. We don't have any debt. We have unused working capital limits of 400 or 500 crores. Should this be a long drawn out battle, VGAR has the flexibility to take a call to be the last or one of the last companies to take this tough call.
Right, absolutely. I mean, that's something which is really important. And I think everyone's betting big on the second half of the financial year now. If things have to improve, and hopefully things have to improve, and there are no further lockdowns, there are no further cases that come in as well. But thank you, Mithun, for joining us on the show. It was a pleasure having you, a great, insightful conversation. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation too, and we will come back to you when everything normalizes and all of us are at 100% working capacity ourselves as well. So thank you very much for being on the show.